Thank you, Matthew. Let me just give you the teams quickly. The England formation is experimental again. 3 central defenders, Barrett, Walker and Pallister. Sinton on the right, Sharp on the left, pushing forward as wing-backs really. Clough, Platt and Ince in the midfield. Merson and Barnes are yet another new partnership up front. The West Germans much happier really, they're much more settled. Manager Bertie Vogts says that they're really in the consolidating stage towards next year's World Cup. Helmer is given the job as sweeper today. Matthäus, the skipper in the 1990 World Cup, is still there. What an inspirational leader he is in midfield. And the striking threat of Riedler and Klinsmann, well, you can be sure they'll be ever present. The referee today comes from Uruguay, Ernesto Filippo Cavani. In the England goal today, Nigel Martin, the 3rd goalkeeper so far in this US 93. Crystal Palace man winning his 3rd cap. Big Cornishman, let's hope he does well. And the man he'll be facing, Jürgen Klinsmann. Fantastic striker, plays for Monaco. A winner in the 1990 World Cup final, of course. 51 caps, 16 goals for his country. And the Germans in white. England have changed to red, just as they did, of course, back in 1966 on that famous occasion. This is Ziegler, one of the new men, the number 17 on the left side of midfield, Andreas Möller. The last match of a long, long season, and Germany need to win it to win the US Cup. A draw, and Brazil, they would take it on goal difference. For England, I suppose, the need is to produce a performance of skill and spirit that would rank alongside the 1-1 draw last weekend against Brazil in Washington to carry us over to next season and those vital World Cup games coming up. But at the moment it's Germany, but Nigel Clough knocking that one away. I'll have a word with Ron Atkinson in a moment about the team selection. In the meantime, Ziegler picking up Effenberg, number 2. It's quite a narrow pitch, only 70 yards wide, and very tight to the crowd on both sides, of course. To Klinsmann, knocked forward to Riedler. A flick on again, they claim a handball, but nothing's been given. And Riedler doing well, Barrett just stopping with him, and the ball comes out to Andy Sinton for England. Forward to Clough, in a fair bit of space there in that midfield area, but he tried to get it back to Barrett, failed to do so. Ziegler again. Sinton. Something like a 60,000 crowd here in the Pontiac Silverdome. Although the upper terraces largely are empty, it's a wonderful stadium at a capacity of about 76,000. This is the big defender, Schultz. Möller being marked very closely by the opposing number 7, David Platt. Their teammates at Juventus, of course. Walker gets it back to Martin, gets his first real touch, knocks it forward. Schultz there, big 6'4" defender, gets the header in. Barnes after that one, after Ince's header. This amazing pitch, grown in California, brought here in April in great hexagonal pallets. Here's Klinsmann looking to get past Barrett. Both pretty quick, and Barrett, the speeder of the two there, does well and gets it away for England. So throw to Germany. It'll be taken by the number 14, Michael Schultz of Borussia Dortmund. Buchwald's in there as well, but didn't quite, yes, he didn't get ahead to it. It was headed away by an England defender. So Lothar Matthäus comes across to take the corner for Germany. Schultz again, the 6'4" defender's right in there. Buchwald, another big defender at the near post. Klinsmann is lurking. Effenberg's in there too. Riedler, needless to say, is in there. And it's a goal kick. German player's gone down. I think it's probably Schultz who's injured. While we look at that, Ron, early thoughts from you?
Yes, I mean, we were just discussing before the game, weren't we, where how the three centre-backs were going to operate, whether we're going to have a definite sweeper and two markers. It seems very much as if Palace is going to play in the central position. We're not going to play with a libero or sweeper, and Earl Barrett will flank him on the right and Des Walker on the left-hand side, pushing Sinton and Lee Sharp in so-called wing-back positions.
This is how Schultz got his injury. Clash of heads there.
Yeah, I mean, the first little worry you would have on that, Brian, is once or twice, I mean, the Germans are cute. They'll know everything that's going on and how to play against sort of systems like that. And I think you'll see an awful lot of midfield runs from Lothar Matthäus and Andreas Möller down the side of Des Walker. I think they'll try and get Des Walker outside of his left foot, where he's not the best left-footed kicker in the world. And I can see them trying to exploit that area a little bit.
So goal kick for England. Schultz back on his feet again. And faced with another header there, which he gets to. Another throw to the Germans. When you're injured, the ball will always find you. It's back with Schultz again, and now with Buchwald. Up to Matthäus. Such a good, settled, confident look about the Germans always. This is Helmer, though, who's a new man in that sweeping position. Effenberg coming forward again. Defender who likes to get really into strong attacking positions. Half stopped there by the English defence. Pallister in the end getting the ball forward for England. Platt now, and the ball moving really smoothly and sweetly on this indoor surface of natural grass. There's Merson, wide on the right. Crossed in, knocked away. Merson and Barnes might play through the centre, but Ron was saying before the game to me that he thought they might play a little bit wider, getting balls inside for midfield men to come onto, and that's exactly what looks to be the likely thing so far, certainly as Merson is concerned. Here's Ince having a battle of his own with Effenberg, and a free kick given against England's number 11. Matthäus and Möller behind this. No Thomas Hessler in the German side today. He's still involved in Italy with Roma in the Italian Cup. Oh, a mistake there by two England players. And Riedler goes for what was a clear dive. Doesn't fool the Uruguayan referee. And Barnes with a long ball forward, with Merson will chase it. Schultz gets it away for Germany. Hit high towards Möller. Barrett gets in there with the boot. And it just flicked off Andreas Möller, so it's a throw to England. Karl-Heinz Riedler of Lazio, a teammate of Paul Gascoigne's. Scored a hat-trick against the United States. Germans conceded a lot of goals in this tournament so far. 3 against Brazil, 3 against the United States. They drew against Brazil, of course, and beat the United States 4-3. Here's Matthäus. Sharp on the far side, getting it forward towards David Platt, scorer of England's goal against Brazil. Another free kick.
Yes, just to harken that point you're saying about the Germans conceding a lot of goals, Brian, in this tournament. I think for a while now, the German defence hasn't been what it used to be. I mean, the players now, if you look at Buchwald, Kohler when he's in the side, they've been in the game a long old time, and we actually saw when Leeds played against them as well, didn't they, in the European Cup earlier in the season, that when you do attack them and attack them with a bit of positive play, you can give German defences problems these days.
We got the players to attack them with positive play today?
Well, I think it's very, very important. We're talking before the game. I mean, Barnes and Merson, this is my theory anyway, why they've gone in there. They're both very adept at playing, going in at wide positions, maybe stretching the markers. They're using a different system to us at the back. They're playing 2 markers. Buchwald and Schultz are following them man for man, and Helmer's sitting out spare all the while. And I think they're both capable of dragging their markers wide and allowing the likes of Platt and the likes of Clough to dive through and try and exploit their sweeper.
Schultz guiding the header back to Helmer.
I think if we had a problem against Brazil last week, Brian, we couldn't quite get support up quick enough to the front, well, it's basically Ian Wright on his own. But today we've got players that can explode from midfield.
Helmer again to Guido Buchwald. Ooh, stop on the ball. Can Barnes take advantage of that? No, Buchwald recovered very quickly. Centre of the Stuttgart defence was Buchwald. The Leeds players will remember him from those European Cup games. Riedler's header collected there by Nigel Martin. In his first cap against CIS back in 1992.
I think the Germans will also feel that with Pallister staying in the middle, they obviously recognise his strength in the air. They'll try and bypass him with diagonal passes.
Schultz getting that one away. Ince and Clough getting a little in each other's way there. And Ildner, who was their World Cup goalkeeper, but in fact has played in only one of the previous 9 games. Lost his place temporarily to Andreas Kopke of Nuremberg. Coming up to 10 minutes gone, 0-0 if you've just joined us here in the Pontiac Silverdome just outside Detroit. West Germany. Germany in the white. Klinsmann, Matthäus, Schultz. Walker coming for that one, but Martin positive. Up to Merson. Klinsmann, Matthäus, Seeger. American fans here in their big numbers, as they've been for all of these US 93 games, appreciative of this good, simple passing technique of the Germans at the moment. Getting it forward here to Effenberg. A little flick with the outside of the boot to bring in Schultz. Seeger's gone down the left-hand side. Riedler's in there and Klinsmann's in there too. Des Walker's there for England, though. Comes out as far as Möller. Struntz on the far side. Möller again. Struntz might get on the end of this one. But there was an England defender there as well. Gary Pallister, I think it was, who just knocked that one away. Möller again. Long cross coming in towards Riedler. Good with his head! And just wide of the England goal. Riedler, so good in the air. He's not the biggest of men. At 5'10" is Karl-Heinz Riedler, but got up so well and was allowed a certain amount of space as well. Ron?
Yeah, well, this is exactly the ball I'm thinking of. They're over-hitting the centre. They're missing Pallister out. Riedler's done brilliantly. He's done that twice already, where he's pulled on Earl Barrett's shoulder. And I mean, he's very, very close to a goal there. I don't think he actually went for goal here. I think he's probably just trying to keep the ball in the danger area. But that is something, I mean, the German front players have always been good at. Voller was excellent at it.
Walker to Barnes. Sharp towards Paul Ince. Matthäus, Sinton, Black get there. Barrett has to do a quick turnabout.
What we also know, of course, today, Brian, is as well, all right, it's billed we would think as a friendly, although it's a US Cup game. But there's never, ever a friendly between us and them, is there?
Never, ever.
Riedler. Klinsmann's up ahead of him. Effenberg's on the far side. Here's Stefan Effenberg with a shot. Over the top.
But that's 2 chances the Germans have made in a fair amount of space in the last 90 seconds or so. And Stefan Effenberg really at least should have been on target.
Yeah, but watch Klinsmann here. He's made a brilliant diagonal run to draw defenders across. And not only have they got Effenberg over on that side, they've also got another player, an extra player on that side. And that's how, you know, you wonder how much practice England have worked at this system. Because when a team, and the Germans are used to it, know how to pull markers and defenders about, that's the sort of move they'll play plenty. They'll look to try and get down the sides of our flank defenders.
Ince knocking it forward. Merson's onside. Platt's waiting in the middle.
Can David Platt get there for England?
In the end, it's knocked away by Seeger. Up to Matthäus. Game warming up nicely now. Effenberg playing it in towards Möller. In goes Pallister, catches Möller. And
That's a free kick to the Germans.
It was a pretty untidy challenge there, and Andy Möller obviously thinks so too by Gary Pallister.
Yes, I think in a World Cup game he would get a booking for that. But I mean, Pallister so many times last week against Brazil, didn't he? Looked to be in all sorts of trouble and then stretched and drove into tackles, and for me was probably our outstanding player.
Crossed in there by Merson.
Yeah, just
diving in there.
Just a touch higher, and we're in with a shout there, weren't we? But to make the system really work, you know, up front, Brian, Barnes and Merson have got to do a similar sort of thing. Merson actually there is pulled off for a diagonal ball, but they've got to show plenty of movement to pull the German defenders about.
Zinger for Germany. Just a little touch there for Helmer. They missed Olaf Thon, who's injured. He's normally the sweeper for them. They tried Buchwald against the United States, and they felt, I think, that Buchwald wasn't quite mobile enough, and so Helmer's got the job, the number 3 today. There's Buchwald on the ball now. Strunz, another Stuttgart player on the far side, played against Leeds in those European Cup games. Here's Helmer. Matthäus, Effenberg. Challenge came in there from Walker. Quarter of an hour gone. England 0, Germany 0. Trying to break clear of Schultz. Brings Sinton into it, knocks a good cross in there towards John Barnes, just a little too high for him. Knocked away in the end by Thomas Strunz. England's throw.
But there's a first-class example, Brian. We're playing with wing-backs, Sinton and Sharp, who are essentially attacking players. And it's important to our way of playing that those two push on as much as they can. I mean, I think Sharp really should have been trying to put more support in the box there and play as an orthodox winger in that situation.
Schultz away. Further forward by Möller, up towards Klinsmann. This is a break on again with Lothar Matthäus. Riedler is right in there too. Still with Matthäus, who's got a ferocious shot but wasn't allowed to show it there by the interception of Des Walker. Here's Sharp for England. Again, getting this ball or trying to hit a diagonal ball there for Merson, who just again pulled away from the defenders towards this touchline. It's Effenberg. Knocked forward again. And a good ball played in there towards Riedler. And a corner. Great run by Andy Möller. And a lovely ball played inside there for Karl-Heinz Riedler.
I must say, I worry about Des Walker when he's out on the left-hand side, Brian. He's not a natural left-sided player, and he doesn't react too quickly. But Earl Barrett's got him out of prison there.
Schultz is forward for this again. And Buchwald. And Klinsmann, of course, is in there. Riedler. It reached the head of Schultz. What a sight it is here, this, the Pontiac Silverdome. Capacity over 70,000, a roof overhead, and for the first time, natural grass underneath it. It really is a historic moment in sport, this.
I must say, Brian, when I was told about the situation indoors and that, you know, I was a bit sceptical, but it's a magnificent atmosphere, and the pitch looks brilliant. And strangely enough, although we're led to believe it's a very narrow pitch, there seems plenty of width on it.
Sinton. Barnes picking it up nicely. Can he do something here? Crowded out just for the moment there by the Germans. Ince playing it there towards Sharp on the far side. David Platt in there too, trying an overhead. Stuttgart defender Buchwald read it well. Germany get it away again, up to Effenberg. And now once again Möller, who's having a terrific game through these midfield areas for Germany. Riedler's gone off him on one side, is still with Möller. He might try a curling shot. Beautiful save by Martin. But great attacking by the Germans. Super counter-attacking there.
It was great to watch Riedler's movement, wasn't he? Made two runs there. He pulled Earl Barrett to the left-hand side of defence. Realised he wasn't going to get the ball off Möller, then pulled him back across the other side.
Platt now to Sinton.
See, this is where we need movement now from our front players.
Merson trying to provide it, but he was followed faithfully towards that touchline by Big Schultz. Merson again. Schultz getting it away. Earl Barrett, plenty of time. Look around to see what options are open for him. Plays it safe here for Palace, who had a super game against Brazil last weekend. Earl Barrett knocking it forward again.
I think in those areas, Earl's got to learn to make it go into the centre of midfield. He needs people, either David Platt, Clough or Paul Ince, pulling out and demanding the ball in those central midfield areas.
Matthäus. Effenberg. Chases on again. It's Strunz on the far side. And a goal kick. And Möller, who had Riedler running off him, try the little curler himself. Good work by Martin.
Yeah, nice one for him, to be fair. Hadn't quite got the venom in it. That's well, he'll remember Alan Shearer putting 2 past him in the first game of last season with an ounce of venom. That really was a nice one for him.
Walker. Good flick on by Barnes. Ince trying to come through the midfield to take advantage of it, but Helmer was there with plenty to spare.
Actually, you do get the impression, if we can get a good service to Merson and Barnes and get good support from Platt and Clough, that they can make things happen. I'm not convinced that the German defenders are that good.
Well, here's Barnes making a good break here towards Paul Merson, and Schultz again getting in the nick of time for Germany. But that was an excellent break, and a lot of credit to John Barnes for it as well. He hustled in there, got in there first, got his good cross in, and Merson just for a moment looked very dangerous indeed. Corner's already taken. Lee Sharp on the ball. Might come for Nigel Clough. Played in by him. Merson couldn't quite get on the end of it, but England almost beginning to make things happen in that German penalty area. Still 0-0. Effenberg now to Möller. Stefan Effenberg plays in Florence for Fiorentina. Oh, Pallister. Oh, twice I thought he'd lost that. Very nearly did. I think Des Walker, was it Des Walker? No, it's Paul Ince got caught there. David Platt. Andy Sinton. Nigel Clough. Might be something on here for him. Claims a foul. The Uruguayan referee not interested in that. Matthäus for Germany. He's been their captain since 1988 as Matthäus.
I think sure, Brian, they don't fancy being attacked, you know. They're very, very pedestrian at the back, and they're not happy when people run at them with the ball. I was wondering on that last opportunity, you know, when Barnsley went down the left-hand side, whether Paul Merson had a chance of launching himself in front of the defender.
Well, here's Barnes again. Merson's up there too. Platt's up alongside him also. John Barnes with the shots. Charged down by Möller. Clough keeps it going. Ince now playing it wide for Sinton. Barrett's going to go outside him. A lot of activity in that German box, but pass wasn't quite good enough for Merson.
It certainly suits us better, doesn't it, when we take the ball by the horns and sort of drive forward. Obviously, we've got to be a little bit careful because they're brilliant at counter-attacking, but certainly the worst part of their side is defensively, and if we can get them under some sort of pressure there could be something in it for us.
Ziga, who injured his arm, his finger, it's his little finger, I think, a knuckle on his little finger in the game against Brazil. That's why he's wearing a plaster on that left arm of his. Strunz. Buchwald. Helmer. German side really beginning to shape up as world champions, qualifying. Of course, automatically there, I thought Palace would have given it away there for the next year's World Cup, which starts a year this week, 1994, here in the States. I suppose Köhler might come into the side, and Hessler and Thun, but the nucleus of the German side is certainly here at the moment. And they'll be back here defending their title in 12 months' time. Here's Barnes. Möller. Long towards Effenberg. Ince had done a good tracking job on him, though. Effenberg. Little chip in towards Klinsmann. It might come for Riedler. Clough trying to hold it up. Now for Strunz. Curling it again towards Riedler. Klinsmann can't get on the end of that one. Lee Sharp will get it clear for England. And an offside flag up against Paul Merson.
It was a good idea, though, Brown, wasn't it? Merson spun his run brilliantly. If he could have just held his run a second, he'd have been running safe. And a good spotter's batch there from Lee Sharp.
Matthäus to Schulz. Klinsmann. Stopped by Platt. Barnes into Platt. 25 minutes gone, 0-0. Nigel Clough. Merson now away on the far side. When he gets to Platt,
And just over the German crossbar from David Platt. The little jump at the end of his run there showed that he was annoyed with himself because he'd worked a wonderful position. And a good cross in and a clear header. It was a much more difficult header that he scored with against Brazil, but...
Yes, I mean, but this is David Platt at his best. Forget the finish. I'm not talking about the finish. The timing of the run from midfield. I'd like to see him doing that an awful lot more against these, because I think he can exploit the sweeper. He's just got too much on it, actually. I think they were looking for a bit of an offside on Platt as well, but he timed his run brilliantly there. And as you say, the thing is usually excellent, that he hasn't done.
Here's Matthäus, the little chip for him. It's Effenberg, he's released here. Stefan Effenberg with a shot, and Germany score. Effenberg the scorer. 26 minutes gone, and England just a moment ago so close to being ahead. Find Nigel Martin beaten by Effenberg, and Germany are a goal ahead.
Yeah, but he's been threatening this all match, Effenberg. He's been running down that right-hand gully all game. Great chip in from Matthäus, and Nigel Martin a little bit unfortunate here.
And Effenberg really gets the better of Pallister there as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's turned inside him, but he's been threatening that space for most of the game, just running down that little inside
Lovely
right
chip
gully.
there.
But that's delightful, and it's made by his movement off the ball. I got a feeling there that the turf might have played a bit of havoc with Pallister. He seemed as if he had problems pulling up, concerning, but full marks there. You know, that's Germany, isn't it? Just when we should have been leading, they've taken the lead, but.
Walker on the far side for England. England's throw. Lee Sharp will take it. Walker again. Sharp again. Challenged by Strunz. He might even have got a nasty little bit of boot in the face there. But it's England's free kick. Now this is where we need an equaliser. Pallister's up there, having quite a battle off the ball with Strunz. You can probably see it at the bottom of your picture there.
Clough curling one in,
And Möller taking no chances there. A good fist away. Got a bit of distance on it. England's throw with Sinton. And he's Sinton again. That's a free kick. Foul by Möller.
That's the sort of area, though, I want to see our wing-backs operating, Brian. Both Sharp and Sinton carrying the fight and trying to get behind the back of their defence.
So Bodo Illgner lining up the two-man wall. England with plenty in there, but also Guido Buchwald putting it behind for the corners. You can see from the flags around the surrounds, plenty of England supporters here today. About 2,000 of them, actually. A lot of them from Canada. Flicking by Sinton, almost getting it through to Platt. Buchwald's clearance. And Walker gets it back. Not easy for Martin. Klinsmann's after him. Love to see players challenged like that when the ball goes bouncing back to a goalkeeper. There's always a percentage chance that something will happen for you, and Klinsmann obviously has collected 1 or 2 goals in the last season that way.
Once he starts going with those long legs, though, he just devours the ground, doesn't he, Klinsmann?
Helmer to Effenberg.
Just wondering how much the new grass had to play with Palace there. The ball seemed just to stand up, didn't it? When Matthäus chipped it. Just seemed to stand up from, I think, Pallister thought it was going to run on further and could get a challenge on. And he just seemed to die and stand back on it.
Matthäus. Seeger. There's his shot. But you were saying, Ron, there's so much movement. I mean, Matthäus, you pick him up here, there and everywhere. Effenberg's the same. I mean, they are devouring so much ground, aren't they? There's
I think
Seeger obviously in a bit of trouble.
I think from the halfway line forward, they're great to watch. The movement, the passing, diagonal runs from the front people. You know, and that's something where if they are better than us, that's where they're better than us, in their movement in creative positions. We tend to play and be a bit static, whereas they as soon as they play, they're straight off on another run. That was why David Platt's run there was so important, wasn't it? That's one of the few times yet that we've burst from midfield and got ahead of the ball.
Schultz, well, that might offer something for Merson.
Oh, a fabulous shot and a fabulous save. Merson caught that superbly on the volley. I thought for one lovely moment it was going to dip just in under that German crossbar, but up came Ilgner.
From here, Brian, I'd have put my mortgage on it. We're right behind that. It looked ill. That's a great save from Ilgner, because it looked as if it was past him.
England's corner. Clough throwing it in again. That's an easier one for Bodo Ilgner. And the little throw out, trying to release Effenberg. But Sharp had got back there quickly for England. Here's Ince. Effenberg has stayed down. The game goes on. There's Walker on the far side. Ince gets it back again from Barnes to Ince, and it's a goal by Platt, and it's 1-1. A super move by England, thoroughly deserving a goal, and David Platt once again right on the end of it. Some excellent work by Ince, but teamwork from first to last. Ince's ball, Platt's finish, and England level.
I think that might be the best goal England have scored during Graham Taylor's reign. Some delightful passing led up to two great 1-2s with Ince. And here he just measures the ball across the face of the goal. And David Platt doing and atoning for what he should have done earlier, but doing what is the best in the England team at, arriving in the box.
Absolutely ripped the German defence apart. A wonderful goal for England. And 1-1 here in the Pontiac Silverdome.
I think the Germans might feel slightly aggrieved, Brian, that they probably feel they should have had a free kick just before we got possession back on it. But watching a goal like that, who cares? Magnificent footballing goal.
Well, he's on the spot again for England. He was against Brazil. He's here against Germany. His 20th goal of his international career, winning his 41st cap.
I think you can see there we've been playing just over half an hour as well, and the players can't wait to get some water, Brian. I mean, the humidity in the stadium is absolutely, well, it's very, very heavy.
Effenberg's all right again. Just have a look at it once again before we can go back to the start. Ince's part in it was exceptional. Platt's finish was perfect. Stefan Effenberg now.
I think that's
for
the value as well, Brian, of having a good surface to pass the ball, and they could play their one touch without worrying. They knew exactly where it was going.
Matthäus with another chip. Is Pallister going to be in trouble again? Well, if he was, just for a moment, Martin came to the rescue. Bertie Vogts yesterday, the German coach, called it a perfect pitch. A miracle, he said, getting an artificial surface, or at least a natural surface, under a roof.
How do you think it'll react to rain, Brian?
Well, we had a horrendous storm in the night, but none of it got through here. And here's Merson trying to get through the Brazilian defence, the German defence again. Möller gets it clear. Here's Effenberg. Seeger. Riedler's made a break. Walker read it well. Seeger again. Putting a lot of store by Seeger down this left flank, in much the way they did Bremer for so many seasons, the Germans. He's only a youngster, he's only 21. Christian Seeger. It's with Helmer. 1-1 the score here in the Silverdome between Germany and England. Möller. Schultz. A little bit of nudging there by Sharp on Matthäus. Matthäus remonstrating with the linesman. One of the linesmen comes from Uruguay, the other from Argentina, but neither of them wanted to have anything to do with Mr. Matthäus. And here's Matthäus again. Towards Klinsmann. Riedler. Barrett holding him up. Supported there by Sinton. Some space here for Ziga. Cross coming in once again. Pallister got that away. Effenberg shot way off the target. Well, as Ron Atkinson was saying, probably the best goal of Graham Taylor's reign. Him in the spectacles there. Laurie McMenemy alongside him. Just here in America, he missed the opening couple of games with a very successful under-21 side. Congratulations to them in Toulon, winning that tournament there. Clough, a reel up and under. Merson's the only one who might get there. Called for some good control, which he provided. Finds Sinton with it. Now Platt. Chip in stopped by Schultz. Sinton again. Merson. Sinton's gone down. Platt stays up. Schultz gets it away. Pallister backpedaling. It's a real test for him facing Riedler. Now Martin coming out of his goal again to stop Klinsmann. Sinton wearily getting to his feet. Ziga. Möller. Helmer. Just tell you a bit more about the grass here. As I say, it was grown in California, transported here in April, and placed in 2,000 hexagonal metal pallets and fitted almost like a giant jigsaw. It was first in the car park and then brought out into the stadium here only a couple of weeks ago. And 4 games will be played here in the World Cup next year over 10 days, and they're keeping this down here for 10 days. They're going to play 4 games on it just to see how it reacts. But if I can do my Gardener's World bit, the grass here is 85% Kentucky bluegrass and 15% perennial ryegrass. And as they say, it looks like the perfect pitch.
It also, Brian, looks very, very lush, and I just wonder how that might pull on the players' legs in the closing stages of the season. You know, they'll not have played on a pitch like this for a while. And sometimes it's like the Wembley thing, isn't it?
That's
when
right.
Players go on there at the back end of a season, it tends to pull on the calves particularly. And as I said earlier, it's so hot, it's so warm and humid.
It's very, very humid in spite of some giant air conditioning machinery around this Pontiac Silverdome. It's very, very humid indeed, as you can see at home when you can see the crowd sitting in their shirt sleeves here. It's, mind you, in this part of the world, it's the temperature's been into the mid-80s for the last few days. That's outside. Bertie Vogts on the right of the picture there. It's the German coach. Here's Nigel Clough, little ball forward, trying to release David Platt again. Helmer, the sweeper's gone with him, and it's an England corner.
Yeah, that's the important thing with the system, though, Brian. It does give David Platt the advantage to break forward without having worried too much about defensive responsibilities. In fact, the system can't really work unless he, and to a lesser extent, Nigel Clough are doing that.
Coming up to 2:45 in the afternoon here in Detroit, just outside Detroit. Here's the corner for England. Pallister with the header. An overhead game by David Platt. Seems to be in everywhere. Good skipper.
It's also been a very creditable England performance, considering that it's supposed to be an experimental system, and you wonder how much time and practice they've put into it.
The home of the Detroit Lions, the American football team, as you can see the helmets around the stadium here. They play about 8 to 10 games, I gather, a season here, and then there are pop concerts and all sorts of other exhibitions in this Silver Dome. Here's Möller. Effenberg on the break again. Ince has gone with him this time. Pulled away nicely there, Paul Ince, and Sharp was available for him. Down the line, it's a throw to Germany. 6 minutes to half-time.
Just watching Effenberg there, he did it for the goal. He's made another run there that, as you so rightly said, Paul Ince has done well to track and see off. But he looks decidedly happier in the midfield area when he's running forward. I mean, when he's had to play in the sort of right-back position, he looks very, very vulnerable. I must say he's very impressive breaking forward.
It's gone straight into touch.
The pitch is narrow, but it's not quite that narrow.
70 yards, that's a bit narrower than most of the pitches at home, Ron, is it?
Yeah, we were just saying, from a width point of view, probably the Arsenal's, we think, is about 72 or something like that. But I must say, it doesn't look narrow. You know, sometimes you get pitches, certain games where, particularly when the crowd's on top of you, and they are here, where, you know, it gives the impression of being not so wide. But this looks plenty of space on it.
Helmer getting it to Klinsmann. Here's Barnes. 5 minutes of the half-time left. Platt hurried into a pass there by the challenge of Riedler. Gets it back again, but that time it was a good tackle by Helmer. Here's Helmer again, the number 3. Ziege chasing Martin's ball. Sinton gets it forward. Schultz anticipated that well. Well, England claiming offside. The linesman was very late putting his flag up. Everybody looked at the referee. The referee then looked at the linesman, and eventually he put his flag up.
I think that might be a bit of a relief to Gary Pallister.
I think it would, because Gary had clearly thought it was offside and was prepared just to take a free kick. Here's Paul Ince.
I think we're now seeing the effects of the heat and maybe the turf, Brian, because the game has definitely dropped down a gear or so. I mean, early on, I was beginning to wonder how they could sustain that pace, but it does look as if it's just steadied itself down a little bit now.
Here's Struntz, the little chip through towards Riedler. Pallister really had to get up for that one. Made no ground on it. He was bundled to the ground there by Des Walker, but again, the Uruguayan referee just looked the other way as the Germans appealed for a penalty. Buchwald finds Effenberg. And that time there is a free kick. Was there any thought of a penalty, do you think, Ron?
Well, I mean, the first suspicion is there's Gary Pallister. He's struggling like anything to get off his legs, and no, definitely not. But I mean, we've got this German thing, haven't we, where anybody hits the deck, you tend to wonder, you know, that may work against them in many ways. And they've developed this reputation over the years, particularly the man up front alongside him, Jürgen Klinsmann, who, whatever else, is an excellent player, but has developed this sort of actor reputation.
Bertie Vogts, 46-year-old manager. 96 caps he won as a fullback for Germany. And of course, the captain today, Matthäus, is on 101 caps and needs just 2 to equal Franz Beckenbauer's all-time record for Germany of 103.
I think you have to say, if they can find some top defenders by this time next year, I mean, I don't know whether Cole, you know, gives them that bit extra, Brian, but if they can, I mean, when you think of Thomas Hessler and people like that.
Yeah, they like Tone, don't they? Olaf Tone. They like him as a last man. And Köhler, the Juventus defender, has gone home because he's injured. I mean, he's a class act as well. I think they've got him about there, Ron, haven't they? Schultz. At the end, it was Helmer. Clough bursting on the scene. They really are stifling conditions out there, and it reminds me actually of the last time England have beaten Germany was way back in 1985, also in stifling conditions, but quite different. in a pre-World Cup tournament the year before the 86 World Cup. That was in Mexico. It's the last time England have beaten the Germans. More recently, of course, there was that penalty shootout in the World Cup semi-final, and they also won 1-0 at Wembley, Graham Taylor's first defeat. Riedler the scorer that night. Now, free kick. Barnes with it. We always hope for something extra special with a Barnes free kick. He just lifted that just a little too high. Möller. Cross coming in from Strunz. Riedler battling for it. The Aston Villa fullback Earl Barrett getting it away. Sinton playing it into Platt and almost playing it into trouble too. Sinton getting it away.
It'll become increasingly more and more so, Brian, that to lose possession or give possession away is going to punish people. And as I say, with the conditions as they are, you know, you can't make elementary mistakes with the ball.
But as exhaustion creeps on in the latter stage of the game, there will be mistakes, Ron, and it could be a very, very interesting second half, this, couldn't it?
Yes, I mean, I think both teams, I'd be surprised if both teams don't use up their full quota of subs.
3 outfielders and 1 goalkeeper allowed in this tournament. Strunz again trying to play it through towards Klinsmann. Ince gets it away, and in the end, Clough gets it away into touch.
I must say, I'd like to have seen Paul Merson perhaps get a little bit more ball possession on this right-hand side, Brian. It's given me the impression that he's got the beating, particularly of this left-hand side defender, of Schultz. He looks a bit unsteady as a defender when people run at him with the ball. And Merson looks as if he's got the ability today to exploit that.
Effenberg. Flicking it out towards Strunz, knocked in quickly there. Pallister beating Riedler in the air. Walker just ducking in with the header. Sharp playing a little ball there for Clough, who didn't have a chance really of picking that one up. Effenberg. It's easy for Pallister, but then he hits it straight at Paul Ince. Chip in again by Matthäus. Strunz on the far side again for Germany. Matthäus again coaxing his men forward with that little chip. Strunz getting it in, and it came awfully sharp for the corner. We played about a minute and a half of time added on, so this is right on the interval now. Schultz is there, number 14. Buchwald, number 6. Klinsmann in there too. Effenberg's in there. Riedler, needless to say. So England needing to defend right on half-time here. Curling away there towards Riedler. Walker got his head to it. Chipped in again there, and a good header by Pallister. Klinsmann was just behind him then, and another test for them. And that time it was Buchwald, but he didn't really get a firm header on it. Effenberg still battling. It's another free kick as Effenberg went down. He wanted to take it quickly and got nowhere with it. So, except that the ball was moving, and Earl Barrett has to come back.
Yeah, I think we're very, very reliant on Pallister in these situations. I mean, I think we're a comparatively small side today, England, and the Germans do have that aerial threat. I mean, when they load all those big defenders up to sort of reinforce Riedler and Klinsmann.
Well, they're in there again. Schultz at 6'4" is going to be a major problem. Buchwald's another 6-footer up from the back. But knocked away. The half-time whistle goes. And a very interesting first half indeed, with Germany going ahead after 26 minutes with Stefan Effenberg, who'd had a really excellent first half. But what a wonderful goal for England. The equaliser with Paul Ince playing a big part in it, and finally finished off by David Platt. The story then here in the Pontiac Silverdome at half-time is England 1, Germany 1.
Out in the second half, take it to the Germans and get a great result. But having said that, the Germans have been so good on the counter-attack tonight that you've got to watch out for that.
OK then, let's cross now to your match commentators, Ron Atkinson and Brian Moore.
Thank you, Matthew. Teams back out. First we have to scan to see what substitutions are going to be made, because quite clearly there will be some. There's a whole clutch of substitutes, and there's Graham Taylor in the midst of them. Let's just have a
Winterburn's on, Brian.
Nigel Winterburn's on for a start. The number 20. Now, whether he's on for Lee Sharp. I think that looks to be the only one. Scanning quickly through those red shirts. Nigel Winterburn, it'll be his first game on this tour. Only two other players who've not yet had a start are Teddy Sheringham and Martin Keown. Ron, any thoughts now about what England must do in the second half?
Well, virtually the same as they were doing in the first half. Being positive, supporting from midfield. I think that's a good substitution. We were talking in the box here during the break about what we would do, and that was one of the things we thought would make sense. I think Lee Sharp's far more effective as a basic left-sided, like a winger, an old-fashioned winger, if you like, attacking their fullback. I think it's a big ordeal to ask him to come and be a defensive player. Winterburn plays this way for Arsenal anyway. You know, he drives onwards sometimes with the insurance of a third centre-back, so he shouldn't have too many problems, unless, of course, England are going to now revert to a basic flat-back four. I mean, that's a possibility.
Well, we need to have a look at that. What we do know at the moment is that the Germans look as though they are starting the second half with the 11 that finished the first. Nigel Martin, one excellent save early on. It raised his confidence, no doubt. Just actually gone to acknowledge that Nigel Winterburn, the substitution has been made. They've had terrific crowds at this tournament, something really stirring in the soccer world out here in the United States. 44,000 for the USA against Brazil, 37,000 USA England, 34,000 Brazil Germany, 53,000 for USA v Germany, and 54,000 for England against Brazil last Sunday in Washington. And something well over 50,000 for this one here in the Silver Dome just outside Detroit. Matthäus, the Germans in fact leaving America in a matter of 2 or 3 hours after the end of this game. They have a flight out of Detroit that gets them back into Frankfurt in time for breakfast tomorrow morning. Here's Strunz. But Walker, and here's Nigel Winterburn, the Arsenal left-back. Knocking it forward, a good simple pass there for Barnes. Tries it again. Readjustment, this time picks in Clough. Barnes again, trying to hit a ball through for Merson, and also for Clough in there. Buchwald for Germany gets it away up towards Effenberg. Barnes again with a header, finding Paul Merson with it. Merson in turn finding Paul Ince. Ince from long range maybe. He's got to find a yard first. He finds that yard and is pushed away well again by Bodo Illner. A ferocious shot there from the England midfield man.
Yes, good positive play. He's looking here actually for an outlet. He's looking to pass this off, realises he's not got one and says, I'll go myself. And as you say, Illner's made a very, very good block on that.
So corner for England. It's with Barnes. It's with Sinton, and down at the post again goes Illner. You were saying at half-time you thought actually England were playing better today indeed than they did against Brazil, Ron.
Yes, because we were far more an attacking force today. We've had periods of the game where we're more in control of it. I mean, it was very dogged, wasn't it, against Brazil, and fighting spirit and hanging on and sticking our foot in and chasing. Today we've played with a lot of control and a lot of composure.
I was surprised actually when Graham Taylor was saying before the start to Jim Rosenthal that he'd picked a formation that everybody at home said he should play. I mean, I was totally unaware of that. I shook my head and couldn't believe that, but in fact it's a combination that is beginning to work here for them.
Yes, I think there's been a lot of talk, hasn't there, been playing with a third man at the back and so forth. I think people just hang titles. At the end of the day, it's all about players playing well, whatever system you're playing.
Strunz. Matthäus. Effenberg. Clough gets it away, but only as far as Ziga. Barrett quickly holding off Klinsmann. And a foul by Jürgen Klinsmann, a free kick to England.
Yeah, but that's a good example of front play, isn't it, by Klinsmann? I mean, he's done everything in the game. He's won all the major honours, World Cups and so forth. And he's still proved at this time of his career, in this sort of competition, he's prepared to chase distances and pressurise defenders.
And I would think your full-back from Aston Villa, Earl Barrett's learning a thing or two on this tournament.
Yes, brilliant for him. Brilliant for him. I mean, he couldn't have had too hard a games to come in for, could he? Brazil and this, different sort of problems. Played in a slightly different position in each. And, you know, he's a good learner. He will learn from that.
Matthäus spreading it wide for Strunz. And now to Buchwald. Well, that was a little clumsy of Gary Pallister, but he obviously didn't even make a contact. It's a goal kick.
It's strange, actually. I thought he was actually our best player, you know, against Brazil. I thought he was a giant, a colossus. I think today he's the one that's looked a bit at sorts with the system. You know, I think he's happier playing the way he's played most of his career, with a solid 2 in there, and knowing where his other centre-back is, and knowing he's going to get cover from his opposite full-back.
Barnes with the header. Schultz getting it away for Germany, up towards Riedler. Good header by Walker. Klinsmann picking it up, taming that ball at the 3rd attempt. Matthäus hitting it long towards Andy Möller, and that came off Earl Barrett for the corner. Matthäus with that corner. Fairly subdued, low-key start to the second half. Germans now looking to up it a little bit. Effenberg's in there, Buchwald again. Schultz is in there as well. And a chance there for Klinsmann. I can't possibly read that. My German isn't good enough, but I think
he was saying in English,
just
He was saying that in English. It's the same in the whole world over.
But I think it was a universal language, that one.
That's almost a carbon copy, isn't it, of the one Ian Wright missed against the Americans.
That's right. That's right.
But what is a bit concerning is the number of times, I would guess in the last 2 years, we've had problems, England as a team, from corners. I mean, it's not a situation we would normally worry about a corner, but...
Well, we certainly did have against America, didn't we? Effenberg. Ince shrugged him off, but did so illegally.
I think he feels Platt's sort of obstructed Effenberg when Ince did the finishing up job on him there. He's revelled in the conditions on this trip, hasn't he? Ince has had a good trip. You know, and you just wonder whether, you know, he had a problem last week coming off with that calf strain. Well, nothing's going to test his calf more than this pitch.
Matthäus hitting it long. Ziege on the far side. Riedler will pick it up for him. No, there was a handball by Ziege.
I just wonder as well, we talked about the threat of Effenberg running through the sort of the inside right goal, and what he's tending to do, he's tending to run Nigel Clough back in there now. With all due respect to Nigel Clough, he's not at his most effective, having to go into defensive areas. And I just wonder whether Winterburn, being a natural defender, would be better to pick him off and let Clough stay outfield a little bit.
Helmer up to Klinsmann, coming deep to collect, going past Clough. A flick wide for Möller to chase. Strunz in for Effenberg. Knocking it wide again for Ziege. This is Matthäus. Strunz. Klinsmann stopped momentarily, but
Here's a chance now for Ziege. And Martin just got a touch on it, but Klinsmann finishes it off, and Germany go back into the lead. Nigel Martin just got a hand to that shot of Ziege's, and for a moment it looked as though England was safe, but that vulture of vultures, Klinsmann, was in there, and it became a formality. Just got a touch there. But here's Klinsmann arriving, and Germany go 2-1 ahead.
Yes, I mean, look, that's where we're in trouble. John Barnes' pass, I think, got cut off, because we're in trouble because brilliant save from Nigel Martin. They probably think he's just in enough, but Klinsmann, as you say, a natural predator. Where we had a problem there, Brian, when the ball was originally played upfield to Barnes, Earl Barrett had made the longest run across field, and he was virtually behind the German right-back area. And all of a sudden, John Barnes has lost good possession. We've lost possession, and they've exploited the space where one of our key defenders has come from. I mean, we've had chances. Somebody else might have just got a nick on the thing, but, I mean, he is what he is. He is quick across the ground, and, I mean, he runs towards goal.
In the meantime, Pallister is the England player who's been getting treatment. Getting some treatment there from Fred Street. And Martin Keown doing some warming up there. And it might well be, is Pallister, that's a bad sight. Let's hope that's not too serious. We'll see if we can find out for you just what the Pallister injury is. But I noticed that Norman Wedhurst actually put his hands wide and said, I don't think he can go on. And so Martin Keown will come on. There's the injury to Pallister. It was the little clash there with Klinsmann, but no fault of Klinsmann. Actually, Klinsmann falls there. How quickly he must have picked himself up to see this opening and made the most of it.
I wonder if Martin had just saved that, how much Effenberg might have said to, what was it, Christian Ziege when he went through. And when he could have just rolled a little ball across the face of the goal. But I say, ironically enough, I was watching Earl Barrett's run right across field when we lost possession.
Away goes Merson. That's a corner. Pushed forward there by Andy Sinton. Now, can England respond as quickly as they did in the first half? If you just joined us, it's 2-1 now to Germany. Effenberg had put Germany ahead. David Platt scored a super goal for England after an excellent move to make it 1-1, and now Klinsmann has made it 2-1 for the Germans. Here's Nigel Clough. Sinton again.
For number 6, Gary Pallister.
Winterburn couldn't quite get there. Matthäus on the charge. Klinsmann's up alongside him, but Walker gets it back. Walker gets it forward. Little touch by Struntz. Here's Buchwald. Hit long again. Struntz is chasing this. Keown gets his first real touch. Tries to jockey the ball over the line, but Struntz is having none of that. And in the end, Keown concedes the corner. Schultz, 6'4" threat, comes forward. Buchwald also. And now, without the height of Pallister, there's an added threat, of course, for England in this sort of situation. So Andy Möller with the corner for Germany. Well, they went a long way. Klinsmann tried to turn it in again. Riedler's there with him. Effenberg. Barrett quickly closing in on him. Well done, Earl Barrett. Up to Paul Merson. Little ball for Barrett again. Didn't really give him a great chance. And in fact, it's a free kick. It's an ankle strain that Gary Pallister's suffered.
I wonder whether that was the actual impact, or whether he twisted as he went under the German player. Seemed a bit innocuous, the actual knock, didn't it?
It did. Good ball, a nice little touch there by Merson for Ince. England keep it going with Merson. His shot won't trouble the keeper.
He's had that position a few times, Brian, where he's against their last man, Paul Merson. And I'm sure if he had enough confidence in himself to go at the fella, particularly on the outside, I think he could be running right in on the keeper. I think he's got enough in his locker to beat that defender, Schultz, quite comfortably.
Well, he's not usually a lad lacking in confidence either, is he?
No, but maybe, you know, he hasn't had an awful lot of international football. He's trying not to make mistakes. He's done very well, I think. He's looked a threat whenever the games come his way.
Here's the fellow who amazes me again, Matthäus. Look at him spraying out this ball again, up towards Riedler. Walker gets it away. He must have some engine on him, Matthäus. He just keeps going and going. 101 caps. And as enthusiastic now as I imagine he was when he first played for Germany way back in 1980. Here's Nigel Clough. To David Platt. Barrett. No foul on Merson. And somehow the Germans get it away. Some real pinball stuff there as Möller plays it inside now for Klinsmann. Will he try a long-range shot? Ince got back at him. And then the header from Winterburn. And then the challenge from Clough. And finally the throw for Germany.
I just think at the moment, Brian, the problems we're having, we're having a few problems behind our midfield. Very often Matthäus sneaks in there, Effenberg sneaks in there. I wonder whether for the latter part of the game we'd be as well to withdraw one of our midfield players and go in, bring an attacking player and go more to a 4-4-2.
Seeger charging. Keown intercepting. Clough just ladling it forward for John Barnes. Merson's gone on a very interesting run to this side of the field with a lot of effort and a bit of pace to it as well. Finds Winterburn, his Arsenal teammate, inside now for Nigel Clough. Ince back again for Clough. Clough tried to get it wide there. The idea was a good one to find Andy Sinton on the far side. Clough looking to get it back again from Effenberg, but Effenberg just shrugs him off. Clough comes back again, does well. Gets it back to Martin. Oh, Barrett now playing at right back. Looking more like a flat back four on. Here's Barnes. Winterburn. Merson, Winterburn. Trying to studiously place a little ball in there to Barnes. Didn't quite come off.
I think at this stage, Brian, to illustrate the point I was on about, I think I'd be tempted to put John Barnes onto a left-hand position, pull Clough off and bring either right, probably right, and put him up alongside sharing Merson up the front.
Clough, a little chip in, met by Helmer, met by Ince, charged that one down off the German defender. I don't think they knew much about it, mind you, and Helmer in the end gets it clear for an England throw. But Ince has really looked in venomous form. He's got through so much work, not in the same street really as Matthäus, who's really excelled here, but he's got through a lot of work, Ince, and also he's fired in one or two very, very useful shots, just as Winterburn is doing here, but it's high and over. Goal kick.
Oh, Nigel Winterburn. John Barnes was absolutely unmarked on the far post, without a shadow of doubt of being offside. One of the German players was just on the field, and I think Barnes wasn't too happy about Winterburn flying that one.
It's with Helmer. Just past the quarter of an hour mark of the second half. England 1, Germany 2. Here in the Silverdome just outside Detroit. And a victory, of course, will give the Germans the US Cup in '93. The scoreboard there, which normally does American football scores, as you can see. Germany 2, England 1. Barrett. Sinton. Little touch for Barnes. Sinton really dumped to the ground there by Seeger. A really amazing record that the Germans do have over the years. The 3 times World Cup winners, of course, 3 times beaten finalists in the World Cup, twice European champions. They've played in all World Cup finals since 1954 and qualified for all European championships since 1972. That was the challenge on Sinton. And the quality of their football over those last decades has been exceptional. Sinton's okay.
I think what is nice about them today as well, they look to be playing the way we would associate German sides to play. I mean, there was a thing in the 1990 World Cup where they weren't the most popular winners, were they?
Well, they were flying around looking for penalties all the time, weren't they? Apart from anything else. Ince with a shot, just wide of the German goal.
He's been on the lookout all match for a goal, hasn't he? He's made the England goal with some brilliant sort of combination play. Had 2 or 3 efforts from just outside the penalty box, backing up play.
Germans now making a substitution, taking off Andy Möller and bringing on Matthias Sammer.
Who will virtually operate in the same areas, Brian.
Exactly.
Same sort of player, runs from midfield, tries to run beyond the strikers.
But experienced international, 15 caps, plays for Borussia Dortmund.
Substitution for Germany at the 60th minute. Going in, number 16.
Thomas Helmer now.
Matthäus Hammer.
Helmer, who plays for Bayern Munich, who lost the German League Championship on the very last day to Werder Bremen. So Helmer wouldn't have been too happy about that, particularly as the year before he'd been playing, I think it was Borussia Dortmund then, and they lost it on the last day then to Stuttgart. So it's been an unhappy time in terms of championships. The number 3 on the ball at the moment. Also scored an own goal, if memory serves me, against Brazil. So don't go to him and say it's a funny old game.
Or call him lucky.
Here's Struntz. Oh, he's done well there. He almost got the better of Walker there. But in fact, Walker had to concede the free kick.
I can't believe Des Walker's caught him that hard. I mean, it's a good strike. He's done Des Walker with when he's done a double twist on him sort of thing. But I don't believe that. That's the side of the game that maybe lets the Germans down a little bit.
Struntz, who's the injured player, has done a lot of work up and down that right side for the Germans today. And it's a friendly game. Winterburn being given a drink by Matthäus. I think they've got to help each other out as best they can over these last stages. Just to see this free kick run, I think you want to say something. Just see what Matthäus does with this free kick. Schultz is right in there. Klinsmann is jogging and looking for an opening. But it was David Platt in the end who got a header in, which has got England a little bit of breathing space. And in the end, it came off the German, Buchwald.
Oh, Brian, all I was going to say, there never is a friendly game, is there, between England and Germany?
Actually, England have won 12 and against Germany, lost 8, drawn 4. You have to say, though, that most of those English wins came in the 1920s and 30s. Though I suppose the most famous one of all came in July 1966 at Wembley. Here's Barnes. Finding Ince. Oh, Ince brought right down on the edge of the box there. He looks in exceptional form this afternoon, does Paul Ince.
He's really picked the game up since Germany took the lead, and actually he's taken on the David Platt role. He's going on beyond the strikers.
And issuing a little warning to a German defender. Sorry to see that there, but he can make his point in a much more positive way by hitting the back of Bodo Illgner's net.
Not too many Germans speak Cockney, though, is there?
Well, John Barnes, it might be for him. Nigel Clough is there. Let's hope we can just conjure up a little bit of magic from this free kick. But Barnes has just put it too high again. I just wonder in this particular atmosphere indoors whether there is a slight difference in the flight of the ball and the way it actually flies through the air. Ron, do you think? Is that
possibly? He's been a little bit on the 2 of them he's taken. I mean, that's not as good as the earlier one he took. He's been a little bit gentle on them. You know, sometimes it may well be that he's got to put a little bit more whip into them. The same sort of shape of shot, but with a little bit more venom in it.
Keown's header, won by Matthäus. Keown again. Klinsmann joining in, but Walker got above them all. Platt knocking it back, but putting it. Barrett in a little bit of trouble, and Earl Barrett just for a moment didn't know where it was, but there was a foul by Klinsmann, a free kick for England. It's already taken. We're on with the game, and halfway through the second half. Paul Merson. If England lose here, it'll be 6 matches since they last won. Seeger. Sammer. Effenberg. Klinsmann. In comes Walker. But here's Struntz. Looking at the ball. Walker again there, getting just a fraction before Riedler. No doubt they would have met once or twice in the Italian First Division. Clough getting it away. Deft little ball there for Ince. Ince hitting it forward now for Platt. England hopefully on the counter-attack here as he finds John Barnes. Platt continues his run. Clough's available in the centre midfield for him. Here he is. This time picking up Winterburn. Substitute on for Lee Sharp in the second half. Barnes again, finding Ince now. Long range Paul Ince. Not quite. Klinsmann's header. And Struntz in the end gets it away.
I think if he gets the chance again, Paul Ince, Brian, he's had about 4 of those now the second half where he's been 20-25 yards out and pulled the trigger on them. I've got a feeling the Germans are conditioned to that, and if he was to be brave enough, when I say brave enough I mean mentally brave enough, to maybe go at a German and try and beat him with the ball, I think they're conditioned to him shooting now. I noticed there when Matthäus backed him up. Let's see what happens here.
Sorry, Ron. Merson again.
Yeah,
and a corner for England.
When Matthäus went to close him out, Brian, he was expecting a shot. I thought, go on, Ince, knock it past him, and you'll be right through their defence.
Substitute for England. I think Graham Taylor must have heard you. It looks as though Nigel Clough is coming off, and Ian Wright going on.
Coming in, number 14, Ian Wright.
Presumably to play up alongside Merson, do you think?
Oh, I think that's a certainty. Oh, to play up front, whether he brings a Sinton or somebody across to the left-hand side and keeps Barnes up front, I don't know, but it's nothing surer than Ian Wright going up front.
Sure, but who do you think with? I mean, we'll have a look in a minute.
I think to keep the balance of the side, it would have to be Barnes, I would think. Sorry, it would have to be Merson and Barnes coming out into the left-hand side.
Well, here's England's corner. Not delivered with a great deal of accuracy. It was an easy one for the Germans to get away. It's with Nigel Winterburn. Now Sinton again. Winterburn's got a good left foot, can cross well. But denied well by Helmer. Gets it clear up to Matthäus, always available. Surging forward again. Great sight now, Matthäus. Finding Klinsmann. And still Matthäus goes on, but Walker stops him well. Stops Klinsmann, and it comes through. He's a remarkable player, isn't he?
Oh, I mean, if anybody doubts after that injury that he's not fully fit, they only have to watch that surge at this stage of a game like this. He just picked it and roared through Barnes and one of the other England players.
All right. Let's see if he can get the better of Schultz. You've got the feeling that Schultz is very beatable, Ron, haven't you?
Yes, I think he's beatable. I certainly think Buchwald's beatable.
Yellow card. For Schultz.
I certainly think Buchwald's the same. I think they're lovely when they're in control of the game, but I noticed in that game against Leeds, when he's put under any sort of pressure, Buchwald, he tends to go under now.
Barnes out there with it. He'll whip one in, possibly here. Keown's in there, number 19. Platt's in there too. He just needed just a little flick on there. Matthäus again. Sammer's right in there. Great stuff here. Klinsmann couldn't quite pick it up. Keown back there. Walker playing it where it's safe.
But what a ball from Matthäus, Brian. Picks up a little flick in his own half, opens his body up, sees Sammer bombing off on the other side of the pitch and plays him inch perfect.
I mustn't keep labouring the point about how warm it is here, but the bench keep throwing on drinks to the players when they are down into that area. Matthäus has just had a quick swig. The power that he gets, it might be worth knowing what it is he's swigging. But it's anything but just one of those days here. It's a very exceptional day. But England are losing 2-1 in this indoor match on a natural grass pitch. Helmer.
I think Merson's enjoyed this free-running role, isn't it? He's operated a lot on the right-hand side and made his runs infield. But when he first started, he used to play up front an awful lot, didn't he, for Arsenal?
He said yesterday at a press conference that's really where he likes to play. He does like to play as a very strong, that's his favourite position, as a positive, strong front man. But he certainly has been effective on both flanks for Arsenal, hasn't he? This is Schultz on the far side. For Germany, leading by 2-1. Matthäus, it was a real nasty ball there to give Matthäus. And suddenly Ian Wright's on the ball now. He has got a bit of pace. But the Germans were quick to realise that. They'll have done their homework on Ian Wright, you can be sure of that. Nice little glided header. Well, I thought it was a nice little glided header by Des Walker. And the Germans wanting to give some treatment to, who would that be? Klinsmann on there, is it?
That's not Klinsmann. I think it might be Helmer.
No, it's not Klinsmann, it's Helmer. So, as you see, the first stoppage you can get, glug, glug.
Nobody's earned it more than him, though, Brian.
Klinsmann and Matthäus in particular.
Yeah.
And as you can see on those faces there, a lot of them maybe not quite understanding everything that's going on, the American audience here, but they've been served up some good entertainment in this US Cup 93. There's no doubt about it. USA and Brazil, the other two nations in the tournament. Behind the glass there are bars and restaurants. And up above all, that wonderful roof. Helmer's okay.
Be nice to see Ian Wright get one or two balls played down the behind their left-hand side of the defence and attack Schultz. You know, he's on a booking, doesn't look happy when people run at him with the ball, and Wright's as good as anybody doing that.
It's with Effenberg. Being tracked by Ince. Klinsmann trying something extravagant on the volley. Up goes Keown. Riedler there with him also. Effenberg. Matthäus to Sammer. Long-range shot by Sammer, but way over the top.
At the moment, they're dominating us in midfield at the German team. We just can't manage to arrest it and keep possession of the ball long enough to mount a series of concerted attacks.
John Barnes. There's Winterburn chasing, but no, I thought he was going to run out of pitch, but he hasn't. He's got the ball across. Buchfeld with the header for Germany. Winterburn to Ince. I've gone on a bit about Matthäus, but there's no doubt about it that Ince has covered a few yards on this pitch as well this afternoon. There he is, just nicking the ball in towards right, but there was a foul on Ince, which gives England the free kick. I don't know whether the Germans are making a substitution or whether Matthäus is just reluctant to release the ball, but I think it's, yes, a substitution's being made. Effenberg has gone off, and Michael Zorc from Borussia Dortmund goes on. Barnes then with the free kick for England. England looking for an equalising goal. And Ince and Wright were both in there. It was Wright, in fact, who got a touch and claimed, and I think with some justification, that the ball flicked off a German defender.
I must confess, I thought that was a corner, Brian. I think he's a touch unlucky there, Wrighty.
Coming to the last quarter of an hour, Ron, when you assess this US Cup and England's part in it in particular, what do you think the main value has been?
Well, I think a learning process. There are players here, we've come out here with a fairly inexperienced squad, actually, and particularly the last two games. I mean, I'm not one of those that gets carried away about the American thing. I mean, that can happen at any given time. I would prefer to look at the games against Brazil and the games against Germany here and see that there's a lot of our players have picked up invaluable international experience. When if you look at that side out there tonight, you've got Barnes and you've got Des Walker. But apart from, and Platty, of course, but apart from that, you've very few established internationals.
Oh, some space here for Sammer, though. As a long cross comes in. And Struntz will retrieve it for the Germans. He's got Matthäus. Who else available to him? Matthäus plays it, looks for the little one too, has to come back quickly. He's a little annoyed he didn't get that ball back from Zorc then. Struntz. Zorc again.
What he also did, though, Brian, just by his very movements, he opened up a space for another one of his own side.
Helmer. Ziga. towards Klinsmann, too high for him. And what do you feel it's done for Graham Taylor's reputation?
Well, it hasn't done him any harm, but particularly, I mean, if we could nick an equaliser today, I mean, certainly the performances in the last 2 games have been far in advance as looking an international side than maybe the Norwegian and the Poland game. You know, with a bit of luck, really, their goalies had an inspired game. We might beat America by about 6.
Here's Matthäus. This could be more problems for England. Picking up Sammer. Riedler's waiting in the middle there for him. Low kick.
But that's the sort of thing I think will have done the likes of Paul Ince and Sinton and that a world of good. Having to play against great players like Matthäus this week, Rye last week, who are constantly playing it and running the back of you and things like that and checking out and setting you maybe more problems that you don't face at league level.
Sinton trying to find right, but Buchwald barred the way there.
I think Sinton, since his knock, actually has gone very, very quiet, Brian. In fact, I wouldn't have been surprised to see him get the hook.
Get the hook?
Oh, sorry, that's a phrase they use. Hook them off and put another one on, yeah.
Here's Winterburn.
Or as Joe Royal says, the curly finger.
Here's Ince, who's had a great game. Barrett. Back to Paul Ince again. Barnes over on this left flank, just as you said you'd hoped he would be. But here's Sammer. Seeger. 2-1 to Germany. Seeger making his run and allowed to go a long way here. Riedler.
Brian, Klinsmann was stood completely unmarked. In fact, I was watching Winterburn and thinking, are you ever going to get back so and pick him up? He was stood completely unmarked on the far post. Any sort of a ball from left to right then, and Klinsmann couldn't have failed. That's another little object lesson.
Just heard the loudspeaker. I don't know whether you picked it up at home. 62,000 here in the Pontiac Silverdome this afternoon. Coming up to 3:45 here. That's an attendance record for the US Cup. It's on the big screen. The fans get a real service here. There's the big screen. Empty seats there, but 62,000 people elsewhere in the Pontiac Silverdome Stadium here. Here's Zorc for Germany. Strunz now to Matthäus. England with about 8.5 minutes now, something like that left to score an equalising goal here. To raise their game on tired legs and aching lungs. Buchwald finds Riedler, who's come a little bit deeper, finds Matthäus again. Here's Matthäus. Klinsmann's waiting in there. Riedler's waiting in there. Zorc now looking to get the ball in. There's Walker, gets it away. Sammer now for Germany. Long-range shot, goal kick. What are you writing there for me, Ron? The worst run for 10 years?
Apparently so, yeah. It's our first worst run since 1981, I think, in terms of going without a win. But I think the important thing from, we were talking earlier, Brian, I think the important thing from this competition has actually been that we've reached, in the last 2 games particularly, we've given a performance level. And I think that's something that may have been lacking in the international side. Certainly in the 2 World Cup qualifying games, yes. Our performance level wasn't right. But now, if they can take it on from here, who knows what might happen in September and so forth.
And Taylor there. And we're sitting here in a good deal of comfort, if a good deal of warmth, and they can see themselves on the big screen, of course. But I've just been told also it is absolutely throwing it down outside. But we're lovely and dry inside. With this wonderful roof on the Silverdome here.
It's the thing, a lot of the players wish they could open this roof right here and now.
Maybe the grass would be happier too. It's a great sight, this.
I must say, I think it's been a magnificent sort of atmosphere to be in. You know, it's got enough like the party atmosphere, if you like, but it certainly lacks nothing as a game, as a whole event, if you like, in terms of atmosphere. competitiveness.
And of course, I don't have to tell you, facilities everywhere are absolutely brilliant. The dressing rooms apparently are like a 5-star hotel, with each player having his own personalised shampoo, soap, towel. There's his own TV, or at least with a TV. English tea was available in there, and a red carpet all the way from the dressing room right out onto the pitch.
Must be the only place in Detroit you can get English tea then, Brian.
Yes, we've struggled, haven't we? Here's Barrett making a run. And also outside, I can tell you, the car park, somebody said to me the other day, the car park is big enough to build a town on. I mean, it stretches for miles, it seems. It's a throw now to Germany. On my watch, 6 minutes. England still a goal down. And a victory, of course, as I've said before, that would give Germany the US Cup 93. Bodo Illgner with the clearance. Up towards Riedler. Keown marshalling him well there, getting above him with a good header. Finds Earl Barrett. Forward now again for Andy Sinton. Had a couple of good games, this game against Brazil and the one here. Dogged little player of Queen's Park Rangers. Merson now, as we see him so often at Arsenal, swooping in from that right touchline. Again, getting no progress there as it comes to Ziege. But it'll be an England throw. Earl Barrett with it of Aston Villa. Here's Sinton again. Still with Sinton. Well, he's got a bit of a dig on him, but wasn't allowed to go too far. I think it was Matthäus, of all people, who held him up.
And that's where he's now
Matthäus,
made 35 yards since he held him up.
Wonderful. And look, he's linking up with the attack, and here he is again. Zorc to Matthäus. He's the World Footballer of the Year, Matthäus, in 1990 and 1991. And here's Ziege. Riedler's waiting in the middle. Klinsmann's in there too. In the end, it came off Keown for a corner to Germany.
Did well there, Martin Keown. Stayed very, very patient. I think there might have been a temptation for him to lunge at Ziege, and that would have meant unquestionably a penalty.
And who do you think's taking the corner? I tell you who it is. Lothar Matthäus.
And I must confess, I was talking to some German people the other day who were well informed about the game. They told me that this fella's finished.
Yeah. I'd like to be as finished as that, wouldn't you?
Ziege shot.
Too high.
I think looking at the England lads as well now, looking at they are absolutely gone completely. I think, you know, that's...
Well, it's a long old season,
Yeah.
as we are saying. There's this corner game. Up goes Buchwald, as we're just seeing the slow motion replay again. Actually, it reminds me, looking at Buchwald, what a long season it is. Certainly our ITV season began with a Makita Trophy match up in Leeds on August the 1st when Buchwald was playing. It's nodded away by Helmer. And here we are 10.5 months later. Buchwald playing here in the last game of the ITV season as Germans come sweeping forward again. Walker in nicely just to get it away and get it clear to Winterburn. Barnes up to Ian Wright. Sinton. The last 3 minutes or so, England coming forward looking for this equalising goal. Merson Wright just didn't begin to get hold of that, and instead of that it's the Germans breaking with Sammer. Klinsmann trying to make ground on him. Riedler's there as well. Sammer going on, and Walker judging his challenge well, but has he injured himself also? Knocked forward there by David Platt, and Sammer helping Walker get over his cramp. Play going on at the other end. Zorc getting it clear. In the meantime, Sammer well offside. Still
just thinking, Brian, he's only going to step a yard this way, and he's onside. And Walker's on the floor. Any long ball puts him clean through.
And very sportingly put out of play there by Struntz. And applause all around for Sammer. And a quick drink on the touchline for Matthäus. you can see the suffering there on the face of Des Walker. Just a couple of minutes left now. Schultz. So it looks as though he might still have to go back to 1985 for the last England victory over Germany. Back to Ilgner. Long season with about a minute and a half now to run. Mind you, in about 6 weeks' time we'll be starting up again. Here's Klinsmann. No. A free kick for England. Martin quickly out of his goal. Walker wanting to get it taken quickly, does so and finds Winterburn with it. Hits it forward now for Ian Wright. 3 Germans around him. Matthäus, one of them. Gets it to Helmer. Helmer knocking it then to Buchwald, who very nearly put Matthäus to a bit of trouble there. Now Winterburn. Can England break out here? Played in towards Ian Wright. Just a little too high for him, and Schultz gets it away. On my watch, we're in the last minute of the game. Earl Barrett playing it forward. Germany still leading by 2-1. Sinton now. Last chance is coming up now for England. Back for Martin Keown. Can David Platt provide a little bit of magic up here again? He tried to find Platt with that one, did Keown. Walker getting across rather laboured. And then left-footed finds Winterburn with it. Barnes trying to shrug off Struntz, does so. Flick to the outside of the boots. The perfect ball there to encourage Barrett to come forward. A little chip in again for Sinton. And a foul on Sinton there. We're into time added on. And Barrett getting a little involved on the far side there. I think possibly with Schultz. What did you make of that, Ron?
Well, I've got a feeling that Schultz might have had a little niggle here just after he's bumped him off the ball there.
Bumped him off the ball there.
Yeah.
Barrett comes in. Oh, yeah, a little bit of pushing. And yeah, Schultz was... and then a little bit of play acting, it looks, to go with it. He was trying to hang himself around Barrett's neck.
Well, that's something else that Earl Barrett might learn. I mean, Earl's a strong little boy, like a strong middleweight, Lloyd Hoonigan type of build. Yeah. But you don't go messing about with 6'4" Germans.
No. I don't think you have to come all the way to America and play 2 games to learn that either. But the Germans now a matter of seconds away from winning this US Cup 93. The victory would just leapfrog them over Brazil. But England... Schultz hobbles back to the penalty area. England with what surely is going to be the last chance. England with the last chance now here, surely. The free kick's taken. It's flicked away for a corner. Another corner again, floated in. A good fist away that time by Ilgner. Under pressure from Platt. Walker coming forward. Every England player except Nigel Martin now in... Well, what's Walker doing in the German half? Walker trying to chip it in, and it flicked off a defender. Referee looking at both linesmen, looked at the watch. Keown ducking underneath this one. Riedler's after him. And a foul by the German number 9, a free kick to England. Martin's already taken it and found Earl Barrett with it. Forward to Andy Sinton. Played over 2 minutes of time added on. Schultz picks this one up for Germany. Sinton again. The long legs of Schultz can't hold up little Andy Sinton. Ron?
I think if they've learnt anything from this tournament at all, Brian, it's against the very best in the world. And they've played the best in the last 2 games. It's important you don't give the ball away unnecessary. You've got to build, you've got to pass the ball around. And at times we've done that very well today. Second half, we faded from the scene a little bit because maybe tiredness, and the Germans have, I think, have rightly won the game. But if we can improve on this and play in very much the same way, then we won't be far adrift come the autumn.
Matthäus to try to get it through. Walker was there before Riedler could collect. Graham Taylor with plenty to reflect on, and it's got a little better over the last couple of games, even though England have been beaten here. The US Cup 93 goes to Germany, but England by no means disgraced here against the world champions. Klinsmann having scored the winner for Germany, with Effenberg having put Germany ahead after 26 minutes. After 31, a delightful English move provided the equaliser for David Platt, the England captain. And then after 53 minutes, in this first ever game on natural turf, indoors, Klinsmann then scored the winner for Germany.
Very exhausting arena to play in, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right, but they've got to play in it as well, so we can't make that as an excuse.
Just sum up the competition from England's point of view, could you?
Well, obviously, it's very disappointing to come out and only get 1 point out of the 6, so obviously it is. Having said that, you know, our important ones come in September, October and November. We can take heart, I think, from the 2 performances against Brazil and here against the Germans, although the result's not gone for us.
And your goal's been described as the best scored under Graham Taylor as England manager. What do you feel about that?
Well, I think really you've got to give the full credit to Paul Ince, you know. I mean, when you're a yard out and you just tap the ball in, then that's fine. But you've got to give full credit. I thought he's been magnificent tonight, just as he's been on the whole tour. For me, he's been the best player in England this year. And he showed on this tour as well. I think in his 3 performances, he's been absolutely magnificent. And you've got to give that goal, you've got to give to him.
Thanks a lot, David.
Yes, thank you.
Sure.